What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Scales and Tales YouTube video. Sorry for the interesting, kind of crappy, low resolution picture slash video you guys are seeing right now. We're doing something a little bit different here. It's not the normal vlog, kind of talking in my room type video. We are talking in my room, but we're going to kind of break down something very interesting I've been noticing that's going on over the last couple of years and already 7 days into 2025. Kind of a big thing that's going on in the fishing industry. And I kind of hope that I'm not the only one noticing this. It's kind of, I feel like in the last 4 or 5 years, especially with COVID, it has blown up. I'm super excited to kind of bring this to you guys. I feel like I'm doing actual journalism type thing, which is something that I've always liked to do, kind of bring people stories. And outside the podcast and the whole media thing, I feel like this is kind of an episode that you guys might really enjoy, and I really enjoyed putting together. So maybe we can do some more of these. So this is that old style iceberg video I'm sure you guys are familiar with, where you start up at the top of the iceberg where people are most common when they see all these things. And then you work your way down to where the iceberg is under the water, and maybe you're not too familiar with what's going on. So if you guys aren't familiar with the whole fishing industry outside of the swim bait scene, because obviously this is a swim bait media outlet, so this is kind of primarily what we focus on. But looking at the bigger picture, past the tournaments, past the sponsored anglers, whatever it may be, if you look at these brands from a standpoint, there is not very many family owned brands anymore. Like in the swim bait community, obviously there is a large majority of people who are still outright own their own brand and whatever else it may be. But if you look at it from the standpoint of these bigger companies, these companies that you see in Bass Pro, Cabela's, Walmart, Dunham's, Dick's, whatever it may be, you kind of start to notice that it's all big brand stuff, which is kind of interesting. Not necessarily something that's crazy, but you don't ever see like small people getting into these retail outlets. Every once in a while, you stumble into somebody who's making a post like that, but usually it's pretty tight-knit group with all the kind of well-known bait companies, I would say. So really, like I said, in the last 5 years, the fishing industry has changed so much that maybe you guys realize or don't realize. It's kind of in my thoughts, it's kind of changed forever. Beneath the surface, your favorite rods, baits, reels, whatever it may be, there lies a tangled web of corporate acquisitions. Today, we're going to dive deep into the iceberg of fishing brand buyouts, starting from the obvious and kind of descending into the unknowns. Maybe brands you guys have forgotten about, or maybe brands that maybe act like they're still kind of family owned small businesses. And really, you kind of start to realize how many of these brands get bought out, and you either never hear. It's either one of two things: you either never hear about it, or it's headline news, everybody knows about it, it's the talk of the town, whatever it may be. I only list a couple of these I only list a couple of these huge investment businesses, essentially investment like sectors. There is a whole bunch more. You don't really realize how many brands there are in the fishing community until you start to do some research and start to look. And it's kind of crazy at how many like big brands are owned by one place and are all quote unquote like sister companies. So we're going to start at the top of the iceberg and obviously work our way down. More so, we'll start with the more well-known brands and kind of work our way down. I highlighted three or four that are kind of big movers. The first one, a lot of people know about. It's kind of common talk about. The second one is currently making big waves right now that people are kind of up in arms about recently too. It's only a couple days into 2025, like I said, and they're already making some moves. And I'll kind of expose some other things that they're doing outside of the kind of the bass fishing world that kind of makes you scratch your head a little bit and wonder if the reason for them buying it was kind of a heinous, or if there was any heinous actions behind why they bought it, and kind of what they're making these people do now after they bought this company. Third and fourth one were companies that I kind of knew about, but had flown under the radar, kind of forgotten about, and I didn't know were ever bought out into an investment company. So I'm super excited to kind of tell you guys about all this stuff. I hope you guys enjoy. I will probably have a little picture of my face up here talking so you guys can see me up in the top corner, but it's going to be a lot of visuals and stills and stuff. Everything I show you on screen, I will read to you guys. So if you just turn your phone off, put it in your pocket. If you want to listen, you can totally do that, as well as I will link all all the sources in the actual video. And then after the fact, I will link all the sources in the show notes. So if you guys want to double check or check up on some things, I will have all of the links to everywhere I got all this information from. It was probably about six or seven websites that kind of cover all of it. And a lot of the investment firms' websites cover a lot of this stuff too. So a lot of it I sourced from their own site. The money isn't always talked about. It doesn't always give you a whole a whole idea how much they invested into these companies, but with some idea, you can probably make an educated guess. But we're going to start at the top of the iceberg, like I said, with pure fishing. So to open it up, like I said, pure fishing will be on the top of our iceberg. So we'll talk about pure fishing. We'll go in chronological order on if they were ever bought out, if they when they bought out these other companies, kind of any big companies they talk about that they invested in or bought straight out. We'll talk about, I'll kind of skim over some of the smaller companies that they've bought, or the companies that maybe don't mean too much to us as anglers, as I would guess well experienced anglers, maybe more beginner entry brands or whatever else it may be. But when you guys see all this stuff, I think you're going to be pretty shocked because it's stuff that I didn't even really realize. And I like to think I'm kind of tapped into the community, but maybe I guess not as much as I once thought. So we'll start with Pure Fishing in 2019. Newell Brands was the previous owner of Pure Fishing. 2019, acquired by Sycamore Partners from Newell Brands for $1.3 million. Pure Fishing was bought, bringing brands like Abu Garcia Reels, Berkeley Baits, Fenwick Rods, Penn Saltwater Reels, Fluger Freshwater Reels, Shakespeare, and Ugly Stick, all under its brand umbrella. So you kind of think of that. Penn is a pretty big brand out of there. Abu Garcia is kind of, if you want to argue it, a pretty well-known brand, a pretty high up there brand. A lot of tournament guys run their stuff. Berkeley, we obviously know, is a well-known brand for good or bad. Fenwick is a decently known brand as well. Fluger, Shakespeare and Ugly Stick are kind of their own thing, kind of a little bit lower on that tier. But essentially, when Sycamore Partners bought this company, Pure Fishing, it came with a lot of stuff under its umbrella. Not a whole lot where it's like kind of making a killing, I'm sure, but it's making a decent amount of money off the fishing scene with those listed brands. Before we fast forward, I'll kind of give you guys a Sycamore Partners overview. So Sycamore Partners is a private equity firm based in New York, specializing in consumer distribution and retail related investments. The firm has approximately $10 billion in aggregated community capital. Our strategy is to partner with management teams to improve the operation, profitability, and strategic value of their business. We provide flexible capital structure for each investment to position companies to succeed, which I got off their site, sycamorepartners.com, I think. If not, the right site will be beaming over the screen right now. So that was all that happened in 2019. You get invested into, you buy this brand off this other company. You kind of have to give it some time to kind of realize what you guys are going to do with this brand. So that was in 2019. 2020, obviously, we all know was kind of the beginning of COVID, so they kind of took an off year there. But 2021 rolls around and Pure Fishing absolutely hit the ground running. So Pure Fishing Incorporated, the world's largest fishing tackle company, announces the close of its purchase of Plano Synergy Holdings Incorporated, effective April 26, 2021. As part of the closing of this purchase, Pure Fishing also announces it has closed the sale of Plano Synergy archery and hunting accessory brands to GSM Outdoors. This is foreshadowing. We're going to be mentioning GSM later. The leader in the enthusiast hunting, sport shooting, and rugged outdoor market. Also, effective April 16th, 2021, Pure Fishing will retain ownership of the iconic Plano and Frayville brands to complete the company's existing footprint in the global fishing tackle market. Pure Fishing will also retain ownership of Plano's storage and fall storage business, as well as the creative options of the Cadoodles brand. This strategic acquisition is the third for Pure Fishing in 2 years under the ownership of private equity firm Sycamore Partners. So 2022 rolls around and some crazy stuff happens here. Kind of they go global. A lot of these brands we've already been talking about that Pure Fishing has bought up are all U.S. brands, local brands that everybody kind of knows here. Whether they have footmarks in the tournament scene or in the conventional, spotlight where people can go and buy their stuff at Walmart, whatever else it may mean. This is kind of where they hit a global jump on the fishing market. So 2022. Pure Fishing, the world's largest fishing tackle company, announces on February 2nd that it had grown even larger through their acquisition of Sved Sports, a leading supplier of fishing tackle in Europe and owner of the leading brands like Savage Gear, ProLogic, Mad Cat, Waterwolf, and Dam. In the press release out of their Columbia, South Carolina headquarters, Pure Fishing said that the purchase of Svid, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but Svendsен, Svids is a German company, I think. But Svid Sport further strengthens the company's position as a global powerhouse in the growing recreational fishing industry. It's the fourth strategic acquisition for Pure Fishing in 3 years under the ownership of private equity firm Sycamore Partners. So if you guys are wondering kind of why the beginning and ends of these write-ups all sound the same, it is because I'm getting it straight from Sycamore Partners and a couple other sources that all are obviously the same. They all write about the same stuff. So that's why they all kind of sound a little familiar or similar because they are essentially getting written up by the same person to kind of boast when they put it on their investment site. Like, hey, look, we're buying all these brands. And they just kind of make it a little bit repetitive. So if it's a little repetitive, I'm sorry, guys. It will be changing up here very, very soon. All right, moving forward to 2023 for Pure Fishing. 2023 and onward has been quiet for Pure. 2023 and onward has been pretty quiet for Pure Fishing. So 2 years essentially, we haven't really gotten anything new from Pure Fishing, but they have been making quite a rumble in the design world in the bait scene. Call it what you want it, but they're still relevant, and people always talk about their brands, good, bad, or indifferent. Berkeley is kind of what we can look forward to. They do some stuff that maybe isn't necessarily something that a lot of people enjoy, but I guess kind of what I was referring to with the rumbles in the design world and bait scene. If you guys know, you know. If not, Berkeley has done some things in the past couple years that maybe they swallow their ingenuity and take a book or take a page out of somebody else's book and kind of maybe copies a bait or whatever else it may be. It's I think at this point Berkeley and other brands don't care how they make the dollar. They just know that Sycamore, was it Sycamore Investments or Sycamore, I've been saying it enough. I don't know why I know. Sycamore Partners should just kind of stick their hand out, and I'm guessing they're expecting to make money, to return money to their investors and stuff. So I think that really means that Pure Fishing doesn't care how they do it. They just know that they have to make more money, and essentially that's going to kind of lead to Pure Fishing buying more brands. I think the more brands that they can scoop up and have a feeling that they can make more money with, I think that's kind of where the scene is going with Pure Fishing. But we're going to kind of lower a little bit onto the iceberg here to GSM Outdoors. Has been very controversial the last couple weeks for good reason, and these guys own a lot more stuff than I actually wrote about. They own a whole lot into the hunting scene, and they've really started to break their way into the fishing scene. Kind of some of this stuff is very interesting to hear about, as far as what they've invested in and kind of how fast they start to change stuff up on the brands and companies that they invest in. So starting at the top, 2020, GSM is acquired by Gridiron Capital, setting the stage for the subsequent expansion. As far as I know, GSM was kind of big, but once Gridiron Capital bought them, from what I know, they really blew up. That's when they started to really buy out these other brands and companies, and kind of something funny happens here in the next couple years for GSM. So we're gonna fast forward to 2021, April of 2021. GSM Outdoors acquired Plano Synergy hunting and archery brands from Pure Fishing, including Wild Game Innovations, Army Step, and Barnett. So Barnett is a crossbow brand or a kind of archery brand. Wild Game Innovations is a game camera brand. And so Pure Fishing bought Plano, and I'm assuming they didn't want the hunting and archery side of things. They just wanted the strict fishing, the Plano and the Fraybill stuff. Plano being the storage containers, and Fraybill kind of being like their storage container slash ice fishing stuff. Fraybill is pretty big in the ice fishing scene. So they bought that, and I'm assuming that they thought or realized that they could make a good amount of money back selling these three parts of the company to GSM. So GSM scooped those guys up in 2021, not fishing related, but I did want to touch on that these two companies kind of worked off each other in April. We're going to fast forward to October of 2021. This one's kind of crazy because I never heard anything about it, and it's a company that we all know. So, October 2021, Four Bridges Capital announced today that Gary Yamamoto Custom Baits Incorporated, quotations Yamamoto, that's what we'll be referring to it as, has been sold to GSM Incorporated, a portfolio company of Gridiron Capital. Four Bridges structured and negotiated the deal on behalf of Yamamoto. Yamamoto is recognized as one of the iconic brands in the fishing lure industry. Its signature Senko bait has earned the title the greatest soft plastic lure of all time, and recently appeared in the list of 25 most influential bass fishing lures. So you look at it, 2021 of October, uh, GSM kind of Yamoto, and you got to think how crazy that is. Yamoto, I thought was a independent brand, an independent company. You know, how many baits do you see on the shelves when you go into a tackle shop, and how many people talk about the Senko? I thought that really some of these companies were big enough to not ever be bought out outside of what they grow themselves. So to hear Yamoto was bought out by GSM just kind of makes you realize how the situation of this whole ordeal and how crazy it is that essentially no one is safe, and GSM, Pure Fishing, and some of these other investment corporations literally have just endless bounds of money to throw at somebody to pick up their brand, turn around and make a profit off their brand. So that's something that's super crazy. Yamoto, like I said, is a very, very well-known company. Everybody knows who it is, even if they're not super serious into bass fishing. It's absolutely crazy to think about. And then in May 2022, so jumping forward a year, GSM acquired Bill Lewis Fishing. So the rattle traps and all that stuff, kind of another one. I knew that it wasn't a crazy big company, but I never thought that it'd be a company that would sell out. I guess if you want to call it selling out. So I don't know. Name it what you want. We'll go over for the reasons why, or we'll go over some reasons why later in the episode on why I think a lot of these people see this money in front of them and they take the opportunity and just kind of essentially get the hell out of Dodge. But fast forwarding to July 2023. GSM Outdoors has announced the acquisition of D&J Plastics and Big Bite Baits. For more than 45 years, D&J has been a trusted source throughout the fishing industry for OEM manufacturing. With a strong focus on soft plastics, Big Bait Bites, which initially was a house brand, has grown to become a popular brand throughout the fishing world. With products in the bass, panfish, saltwater segments, Big Bite Baits is known for innovation, quality, and value. So that's another one. I thought Big, big, oh my gosh, Big Bites was a really small place. For some reason, I thought they were based out of Wisconsin. They might be, but I thought that was the type of company that you saw and then just kind of grew from the ground up. I remember getting them in like the monthly subscription tackle boxes years ago, and they were kind of a smaller company. And I never thought that they were big enough for an investment group to want to buy them out. Obviously, they bought D&J, which is Big Byte's kind of quote unquote parent company. But to see that and to hear these brands that these people are buying up is absolutely insane. So this is 2023. This wasn't even that long ago, essentially just a year and a half from when we're recording this. And then a couple months later, November 7th of 2023, the company purchases Cuda, a brand recognized for its fishing tools and knives from Acme United, which Cuda is kind of a company that I had known about. I think that's more of a saltwater brand, like the saltwater fillet knives and stuff. But again, another kind of well-known company in the fishing industry, a part of the fishing industry that just got bought out just like that. And I wish they may have said number amounts for these buyouts, but I really couldn't find anything unless it was like super up to the point on where it was. I like skimmed through a lot of these articles and I didn't see any numbers, which kind of makes sense because I'm guessing like Yamoto was not purchased for a slouch of a fee. So this next one is kind of crazy because I didn't know about this until just a couple weeks ago. I was talking to somebody and they mentioned this and I had to Google it because I wasn't sure. So December 2023, GSM Outdoors entered the fishing rod market by acquiring Phoenix Rods, a US-based company known for its high-quality fishing rods. So you think of Phoenix Rods, I mean, just to say like I knew about them through Cast and Crank podcast. Nick was a huge spokesman for those guys, and a lot of guys like I've held some of their rods, super sweet rods, like where it goes from the composite butt all the way up to just the reel handle, and like how they're very unique, very light. And to hear that they got bought out, like I heard this just the other day, like I said, so to hear that was kind of crazy to see that people that they're going after these companies like this. And I kind of wish I could see how long they had to pursue these owners to kind of get them to sell. But that's another thing that you probably will never find out unless you talk to the guy or unless they post about it 10 years down the road as in like a funny story that they share. Oh, I remember when I bought Phoenix rods for X amount and it took 3 years of hassle on the guy to get him to sell. So we're gonna fast forward to March of 2024 here. And this one kind of pertains to the swim bait world as far as a name we all know and stuff. And I've kind of talked to the guy about this on the show, and I'll kind of give my insight to this here in a second. So, March 2024, GSM Outdoors is excited to announce their new partnership with Buka brand, maker of the Bull Shad. This collaboration will introduce a new wave of anglers to the custom resin swim bait that Mike Buka has become known for. Okay, so the way that is worded, the way they worded it on their site, made it sound as if they were selling, like they bought Buka like bullshad baits, but that's not the case. So I'm just reading this off my phone because I don't have it on my computer. So this article was written in March 22nd, 2024. A new army of anglers will be introduced to the established brand as it moves into the mainstream of fishing, follows acquisition by GSM Outdoors. So I'll read this to you guys. Again, this will be up on the screen. I just have to read it off my phone because this is where I have it. So, Buka brand, sorry, Buka brand, the maker of the Bull Shad, has joined the growing Texas stable that includes Yamato Baits, Steel Shad, Bill Lewis, Buckeye Lures, and a swath of hunting and archery product suppliers. We are super excited about our new partnership with GSM Outdoors, said Buka owner Mike Buka. Wow, I don't like the way they word this. The swimbait market has grown leaps and bounds from where I began making them, and this new venture gives us the opportunity to move further in the mainstream. I see it as an opportunity to continue to introduce more anglers of all levels fishing to hard swim baits. Our baby bullshad and gill have been instrumental in helping new generations of anglers experience a bigger and more consistent bite at a price that is super affordable, said Buka. Now we are moving into the future with GSM and our ABS line. We have a renewed sense of energy and commitment to the fishing community. For our loyal customers, nothing has changed here at Bullshad. My team and I will continue to make our resin swim baits in Georgia, while the ABS Buka brand through GSM will allow us to reach the everyday fisherman. So you have to think of now we're starting to see a lot of trick shad, plastic ABS trick shads come out. And then you have to think about all the saltwater stuff that Buka brand has come out with. So this Buka stuff doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Mike outside of helping design, and he obviously probably gets a cut from everything. But it's just a branch off of Bullshad. Not even a branch off. It's a second company completely separate from Bullshad where he is capitalizing with GSM on the ABS market. So Mike is helping them design baits, helping them kind of tune all this stuff, get the packaging stuff right down, everything else, whatever it may be, the branding. And Mike is probably just making money off it. He's not really too invested in it. Like I said, outside of the design and stuff, it's GSM growing the Buka brand and whatnot. So it's kind of interesting, especially. But it's cool to see like the 6 inch and I think the 5 inch trick shad come out this year in 2024, 2025. So I don't know. I think some of this investment stuff can obviously have an upside to it, but as you guys will hear, it obviously has downsides too. GSM, just low. I mean, recently, for anybody who doesn't know, has done some really sketchy things, as I alluded to in the earlier in the episode. And I guess it's at this standpoint in 2024 in March when you hear about this and you kind of hear about it later in 2024 where they're producing ABS baits for Buka. You're like, oh, that's so cool. Super proud, super happy for him, whatever it may be. But kind of moving down the line, fast forwarding a little bit, it may kind of change your perspective here when I share this other stuff here in a little bit. So, May of 2024, Gridiron Capital acquires Dobbin Rods. So this happens in May, mind you. May 2024. Gridiron Capital, aka GSM, acquires Dobbin Rods. Gary Dobbins, the CEO, whatever you want to call him, the guy who made the rods or grew the brand, he sells the company to Gridiron Capital slash GSM. I'm just going to refer to GSM because that just makes the most sense. Sells the company to GSM, publicly puts out a post on Facebook. I'll put it up right here that no need to worry. Nothing's going to change. The customer service is going to be the same. Just, different guy running the show, but I'll still be here. Whatever else it may be, no need to worry. And subtle foreshadow. There was something to worry about. Sorry, guys. I don't mean to shake it. I was just trying to wipe something off my computer. But yes, there was kind of something to worry about. Whether or not Gary knew, I don't know, but we'll talk about it. Like I said, I hate to keep alluding to it, but you guys probably already know, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so in May. Remember, in May, Gridiron Capital, who owns GSM, acquired Dobbin Rods, okay? So May, June, July of 2024, Gridiron Capital agrees to sell GSM Outdoors to Platinum Equity. So 2 years after dropping probably a whole crap ton of money into Dobbin Rods, Gridiron Capital turns around and says, we can either make more money off this sale than we can with these investments we've made the last couple years, or literally they just gave us a dollar amount that we'd be silly to say no to. So Gridiron Capital no longer owns GSM up to today. Platinum Equity still owns GSM and obviously is the parent company to all the companies that they currently have invested in. So they buy it in July. Finally, well, they come to agreement in July. Finally, in October of 2024, Platinum Equity completed the acquisition of GSM Outdoors from Gridiron Capital, further to the consolidating its position in the outdoor and sporting goods market. So super crazy. I wasn't too sure who this Platinum Equity company was. I'm still not too sure. I just know that they own GSM now. So kind of moving forward to now, January of 2025. This is I can't really even put a source here because there's really not one yet, but allegedly GSM has closed the Dobbin Sulphur Spring, Texas shop, which shop shipping center, whatever you want to call it. No real source, but everybody is talking about it. Everybody's claiming it. The Dobbins page is blowing up with it. The kayak pages are blowing up with it. The literal Dobbins page that Gary is a part of, everybody's speculating on it. Everybody's saying that they know somebody who's gotten laid off. Just a whole a lot of stuff to make it seem like it's hard to be a rumor. So it's really early in 2025. I think there was 8 people that worked at worked at the Sulphur Springs location. So there's a good chance that they lo no longer have a job, which is very unfortunate, especially after Gary publicly posted saying that maybe stuff wasn't gonna happen like they thought it was, but it did. It's just it's sad to see. It's sad to see what these companies do after they invest and kind of what they act like's not going to happen, but lo and behold, ends up happening and kind of essentially screwing a lot of people that way. So we're going to lower on the iceberg a little bit. We're going to close out with GSM and we're going to lower down to Rise Run Capital LLC. We're just going to be referring to them as Rise. So 2021, Rise Run announces its acquisition of House of Outdoors, and we're going to call them Who? Ho? HOO? We'll go Ho. So Rise Run announces its acquisition of Ho on December 31st, 2020. Based in Frisco, Texas, Ho is the holding company for Guggen Baits, Fishing Media, and the fastest growing hard and soft bait brand in the country, which is Guggen, and Made by Influence. I don't know what that is. I'm assuming that's like their kind of camera company, I'm guessing. So, a leader in branding and merchandise manufacturing, supported for outdoor lifestyle and focus influencers and media personalities. So, yeah, I'm guessing that's just like their clothing part of the brand. I'm not too sure. I've never even heard of that. But so that was right into the new year of 2021 that Rise Run invested and bought out Guggen and Fish Media and stuff. So that's crazy. A couple months later, April 6, 2021, Rise Run Capital LLC is pleased to announce that its portfolio company House of Outdoors Ho acquired Lynn Fishing on March 31st in 2021. Lynn creates high quality fishing line for a variety of angling styles and methods and environments. And this is a direct quote. So as who as Ho's portfolio continues to grow, we are committed to investing in business and providing a platform to continue to nurture and grow young, innovative brands to ensure our customers have the best experience on the water, said Corbin Cook, Rise Run co-founding partner. By acquiring line, Ho is well positioned to gain additional traction in the fishing line, lure, and bait categories. We're confident that Lynn's strategy and its founder Sam Moore align in a way that we undoubtedly benefit our customers, and we're confidently in our industry leading management team at Ho and will take Line to the next level. Um, just from what I know, Line is no longer a brand. I'm familiar with the old owner, and from what I know, he doesn't really have much to do with it anymore, if anything at all. And anything that I could find online was outdated, 2021 on Instagram. And Fishing Carl or Tackle Mystery Tackle Box Carl's Bait Shop, whatever the heck it's called now, they had some spool as a line, but LYN, if you guys are just listening, it's LYN is the brand, like Fishing LYN line. I don't think it's really a thing anymore. So I don't know how much they bought line for from Sam, but Sam probably made some money and no longer has to worry about that company, and that brand is no longer a thing. I'm assuming it fizzled out or they did something else with it. I don't really know. I haven't heard anything from it. I knew that company. They were big a couple years ago in the ice fishing scene as far as like a group of guys I know, but outside of that, I don't know anything about them anymore. I think that dissolved, which is obviously kind of the bad thing that happens to these investment companies. They're out a bunch of money and they don't have anything to show for it. But that's the gamble that a lot of these guys are taking. I think that's why they buy such established companies. They throw money at it and they know that this company's going to been around for 10 years and it's probably going to be around for 20 more to keep making them money. So jumping forward to October 12th, 2021. Rise Run is pleased to announce that its portfolio company, House of Outdoors Ho, acquired the assets of Mafia Outdoors LLC and its brands Bass Mafia, Crappie Mafia, Whitetail Mafia, and Mallard Mafia, among others. Mafia Outdoors' largest brand, Bass Mafia, pioneered market expansion in 2010 with its new line of patent ultra premium tackle storage solutions, attracting customers with a need for specialization in durable storage. The brand distinguishes itself with unique products at a variety of price points. So, when I say Bass Mafia, you guys already know kind of what a swim bait guy thinks of. Obviously, there's all dangerous swim bait and some other stuff. Super crazy to see. Um, I guess I knew Bass Mafia was bought out. I'm kind of familiar with who the owner is, but it's interesting to see that they buy this stuff out and then I don't know, what would you say that they buy these companies out and kind of rebrand the companies? Obviously, Bass Mafia was a storage box company, had like the cranking coffin, like all these tackle, like cool tackle boxes, and now they sell like the bags, I think. And I think a lot of the stuff is Rise Run is also the company who bought Guggen, and you saw a lot of Guggen boxes come out. And so I wonder if they just mix and match this stuff. Like they see Guggen selling a lot of hard baits. What do you need if you buy a bunch of hard baits? You need a tackle box. So Bass Mafia is going to direct all its units that it has. It's going to get them recolored, or they're going to start manufacturing them in green and black, and they're going to start selling them on the Guggen under the Guggen name. Bass Mafia, you guys are going to start making some baits that may look like other baits, and Guggen's going to dodge the slander because it's a Bass Mafia brand and not a Guggen brand. I don't know. It's just obviously speculation and kind of what I'm thinking here while I read this stuff. I didn't even know that Bass Mafia had sister brands, Crappie Mafia, Whitetail Mafia, or Mallard Mafia. That's very interesting, I guess. If that's their branding standpoint, good for them. So I don't know. It's just interesting. And so with this, we're gonna jump from Rise Run and jump to, or I guess dive down to the lowest tier on the iceberg. Buyouts bought out smaller content-driven brands into corporate assets. Like I said, the Mafia Baits or the Mafia company was like a super cool company. Like their stuff was super, super well branded and everything. And now it's just kind of like I said, a corporate asset where they just dump money into it and they kind of showcase some stuff that maybe they don't want to showcase on their name brand company, which, if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. They own that company, so they can run it how they want. But it's just interesting to see from our standpoint, I think. And obviously, the deeper we go, the more obscure and these acquisitions become brands that you may not have ever realized were owned by larger corporations and quietly being integrated into massive portfolios. Like I said, you hear about some of these brands, Yamamoto, for instance. I had no idea that they were ever bought out. I figured it was a company that was just on its own forever. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. So, we're going to jump into Pradco Outdoors brand. So Pradco owns classic brands like Booyah, Rebel, Bomber, Yum, and Hedden. Their focus has always been on heritage brands with strong followings, making them a valuable asset to corporate investors. So, corporate invest corp corporate investor opens up their manila envelope and kind of see why should I invest into Pradco itself? They open it up and they see these companies that have been around for Head I think's been around for 50 years. So they open it up and say, "Oh my gosh, they own a couple other companies too, like Smithwick, Jerkbaits, just a couple of like really old established brands." But if you're an investor, you open up your portfolio or you open up your manila envelope and you say, "Oh my gosh, these brands have been in business and like made profit for 30, 50 years. Like, yeah, I'm gonna invest in this I'm gonna invest in this investment firm and I'm probably gonna make money back. I'm going to make money back. This company's been in green for profit margins for like I said, 30 years. It'd be silly for me not to." So I think they kind of buy this stuff not even as a sense to help the owners out or like have any faith in the company. The numbers just show that it's a good investment. It's gone green for 25 years, even in a bad economy. I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna make a bunch of money off it, which to each their own. Obviously, this is what their job is, and I guess if they're paying fair amounts to the owners of the companies to invest in them, buy them out essentially, good for them. I can't say that if I owned a bait company, that I probably wouldn't do the same. But Bradco itself is part of the EBSCO Industries, a conglomerate with interest for beyond fishing, demonstrated how deeply interconnected this industry has become. You think of all these companies, they've all been outdoor companies. GSM Pure Fishing, Rise Run, they all have some sort of leg into the fishing realm or the outdoor realm, really more specifically. And this company doesn't have anything like that. It's essentially just something they can put on their portfolio and say, "Hey, look at this. We'll just throw a number out there. We have 8 companies here, and they've been in the green. They've all been in the green for at least 10 years, depending on how long they've been around. You're going to want to invest in us because we're going to kick ass. We're going to keep making money. And oh yeah, we have all these other companies that have also been around for 25 years outside the fishing industry and they're all green too. So you should send us some more money. And if you send us more money, we're going to go out and we're going to find some more of these really established brands and we're going to buy them up again so we can get your buddies to invest in us and even get even more money." It's kind of crazy. I didn't realize how twisted all this stuff was. And just looking at it and seeing how deep these holes go, kind of these rabbit holes, is insane. I don't know the correct way to feel about it. Like it's capitalism, obviously. It's kind of what this country is based off of, the opportunity for everybody to have a fair shake at it and kind of do what you want to make a dollar, but it's crazy. So all in all, that's all I had for Pradco. It's kind of a really weird company. That's why I wanted to put it at the end because if I'll post some of their other portfolio stuff if I can find it. But they don't like invest in anything. Like the fishing realm is very niche, and that's just like I said. Essentially, I think it's just because they can show that they make money off it. So, closing parts of this video. So, why are so many smaller brands selling out to investment firms? Let's talk about some of the reasons buried at the base. I guess it's really financial strain. Running a brand in today's complex market is expensive. From marketing to research and design, many small businesses find themselves like struggling to kind of keep up with that stuff. If you think that you're trying to grow a brand from scratch, you have to essentially do everything yourself. Scales and tails, as much as I act like it's not, it's just me that does all this stuff. So I put a lot of time into this and to say that somebody offers, I mean, if GSM Pure Fishing shot me an email and said, "Hey, we'll pay you $100,000 to buy scales and tails from you." Yeah, you're telling me I don't have to do it? Like I don't have to quote unquote work anymore. Work at work as far as like this goes. Like, man, I've put X amount of dollars into it. I've been doing it for going on 4 years here pretty soon. 2, 3, maybe. I don't know. But at some point, the money outweighs the work you've put into it in future endeavors. If you've made it really far, like if they were to come at a company like a really established company like Mike Gilbert and say, "We're going to give you $100,000 to buy your company at Working Class Zero." Mike's going to say, "Screw you, dude, kick rocks." Like he's been doing this for going on what, 8 years? So there's a point where it doesn't become worth it unless they really throw some money at your way. But you also have to think of how much easier somebody's life would be if they don't have to worry about working anymore, or at least working on their side project. Like they can literally just come home from work and not worry about pouring baits to support their family or whatever else it may be. It it kind of makes you realize, okay, maybe there is a reason why these people, quote unquote, sell out to these guys. So just the way it is. Um, Scaling opportunities. So you think of a big brand. Think about if you guys are starting a side gig or own a company, whatever else it may be. You know how hard it is to get people like to interact with you, to follow you, just to do anything with you. So it's like if you can take a jump and partner with investment firms that have the chance to scale what your production can help you get into new markets if you want to go like global, something that a lot of small businesses can't like fathom or can't achieve alone. If that's what you want to do, like if they were gonna buy Scales and Tails out for me and hire me on and keep me as the CEO or as the whatever head manager, and they say, hey, we're gonna pay you X amount a year. We're gonna pay your wages for X amount a year, and we're also going to throw you 100 grand a year to grow Scales and Tails from a branding standpoint, whether that's social media, international sales, whatever it may be. We're gonna throw you X amount of dollars and we want you to grow. You got to think that is $100,000 more than I would put into Scales and Tails right now. So from that standpoint, I'm looking at it, I'm saying, man, I could do a lot with $100,000 a year, way more than I could if I just kept it myself. Plus, I'm getting paid for them to take Scales and Tails off my hands. It's still something that I work for or work and do, but man, I can just get leaps and bounds ahead of some of these other stuff if I wasn't to take this opportunity to really scale up. And that's to go with the next thing. You look at Gary Dobbins, how long had he been making rods? We'll just throw out a random, we'll say 30 years. I don't think it was 30 years. But the guy behind Head say the or the head designer at Head had been there for 45 years. He was 15 when he started and now he's 65. And Pradcon, or I think it was Pradcon, Pradco comes up and says, "Hey, we're going to give you X amount of dollars for your company. You're going to keep X amount. We're going to keep all your employees on, and you can go retire, go live in the Bahamas or in Florida, Texas, Lake Fork, wherever you want." You're telling me you're not going to say yes if you're 65 years old, still working for your brand, it's still growing or it still has a positive net worth of sales of profit, and they say, "Here, take this bag of money. Don't worry about it. Don't even look in your rearview mirror. Just go. We're not going to fire anybody. We're going to keep everything the same way you have it. You're just going to be relieved of your duties." 65 years old and I'm still working, dude. I probably will be, but from this standpoint, sign me up. I'm out of here. I don't need to baby this creation past as far as I need it to. If I can make my living from it, awesome. But you hit a point where it becomes more of a burden, I think, than anything, especially after a certain age, 65 years old, you're still getting up and racking your brain on how to reproduce a popper, a hula popper, whatever Hedden has, a torpedo popper, you got to think, man, that's a hard bid not to take. And you can't be mad at somebody for that. You can't be mad at them literally pouring their heart and soul into this stuff for 20, 25 years, getting offered a bag of money and saying, "See you guys. I don't know what more you guys want from me. I can't stay here forever. Eventually I'm gonna die, and if I die, I'm not gonna make any money off it." So it's just my 2 cents off that thing. And then industry trends. The fishing industry is consolidating to to compete with giants like Pure Fishing. Smaller brands often have to feel like they have no choice but to join a bigger brand. If you're competing against Berkeley and GSM sticks their hand out and says, "Hey, come with us. We're gonna get you squared away with a better factory, or we're gonna get you squared away with a factory in China. We're gonna help you design 5 baits with 5 new packaging options. We're gonna help get you on to Tackle Warehouse, Cabela's, and Bass Pro. You're gonna be able to compete against Berkeley, whatever else it may be, and you're gonna get paid out for it." I mean, again, there's this no. It takes a special person to say no to that. Not even a special person. People will say no to that, but to a point, like I said. there's a time, place and time where a lot of money for all the work you've done over the course of X amount of years really outweighs the hardships you've gone through. Owning a small business is not easy. And if somebody's gonna quote unquote give you a handout or a big bag of cash or whatever else it may be, man, there's probably a lot of people that we'd be hard up and say, "Yep, I've put enough time into this. I'm taking this exit and I'm going." So all in all, it's you look at it and you think, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe Gary sold Dobbins. I can't believe he did that, whatever it may be." But it's like the guy's been doing it forever. He saw his chance. He was told his people were going to get taken care of, allegedly. I don't know if they got fired, laid off, whatever it may be. And you got to think, what would you do in that situation? What would you do to spend time with your family that you haven't gotten to really do a lot with in 20 years? You're getting a large amount of money. You're getting told your people are going to get taken care of. You get to watch your brand grow and not necessarily have a hand in it anymore. I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe it's just me talking as a 20 some year old and thinking if I didn't have to work a side gig for the next 25 years, that'd be awesome. I could fish all the time. But to me, it just kind of makes sense. It sucks to see. And I think I think personally it would have to be a large sum of money to get me to say yes, it's yours because I don't know. It's fun. It's fun watching this stuff grow. There's a challenge to it, and I think the challenge is what makes it fun to see kind of where this stuff can go, how it's gonna grow, how am I gonna afford to grow this thing? Just a bunch of questions that really have a lot of answers. And if you take the buyout, then you're not gonna have anything to kind of look forward to, I guess. And you got to think. I mean, realistically, if somebody was to buy Scales and Tails out, I would guess that they're going to make me sign a non-disclosure, an NDA, and have to agree to some things. You're not going to participate in phishing media. You're not going to participate in slander posting or shit posting, whatever you want to call it. You can't come at us if we decide to make changes to your company, your quote unquote company later in the future after we invest. You have no relations with Scales and Tails, whatever else it may be. You can pretty much have a couple guys from the Men in Black movies come over, zap you with the mind eraser, and you're your own free guy with an extra $1 million in your bank account, and you just have to pretty much forget what you've been working on. That's kind of hard for me to justify. I couldn't do that, I don't think. I know I just said that it'd be hard just to turn down a bunch of money, but also thinking about it from that standpoint, like not having any hand in this company as well as not having the opportunity to grow another company. It's kind of messed up. And as the world or as the fishing world becomes dominant by corporations, it's small independent brands that risk, disappearing altogether. The brands that bring innovation, passion, and local flair to the spot we all love. Working Class Zero, Mike Gilbert, Kyle from Throwback, Kyle from Gracely Baits. I mean, you could Mickey from 316, like all of these guys, I mean, there's literally a list of just swim bait guys that I could list. These guys really make the scene, and to see somebody post, "Oh yeah, I've just sold my brand, good luck to you guys. I don't know what they're gonna do. They're probably gonna fire everybody and make shitty baits now." It's kind of crazy to think about it. And you look at guys like Caesar from Toxic, and he's doing this stuff himself. He's not taking a handout. He's footing the bill for all this ABS stuff. He's not getting bought out by GSM or just to say one thing or another. He's doing it himself. He's keeping Toxic to himself, and he's really growing it himself with all the financial hardships himself, and he's not footing it off on somebody else, which is crazy. I mean, really, the next time you're in a tackle shop or a tackle aisle, just step back and look and see and say, like, what am I looking at here? How many different investment firms, who all has their hand in the cookie jar right now? And maybe try that bait that you've never heard of that company. Google that company, see if they're owned by somebody else, see if it's a really small mom and pop shop. I mean, yeah, buy local handmade plastics from a kid at the flea market or whatever else it may be. Like those kids don't have any investment firms reaching at their pockets trying to talk them into letting them buy into it. It's just a really pure thing for the sport. I hope this video kind of raises some eyebrows and kind of makes you guys wonder about what the heck is really going on because it's crazy to see this happening in the scene. It's crazy to see all this happening unfold, really, especially with the Dobbins stuff. I didn't even mention GSM also bought out Northland Tackle, which if you guys are from up north, you're familiar. It's kind of an ice fishing brand tackle, like a all species tackle. He was in Bemidji, Minnesota, I think. They just bought him out, and he had a shop in Bemidji where he lived. Like that was the original Northland Tackle shop. They bought him out, and they're making a move to Texas where they're gonna build him a new shop. And I mean, that's just absolutely crazy. That's like the equivalent of buying you out and shutting down your people's shop, your Sulphur Springs for Dobbins. It's crazy. It's really sad to see. Makes you if you were to ever get reached out to by a company, it makes you wonder like what could you guys do to really just change the face of Scales and Tails? Even though I'm no longer involved, it's still gonna either hurt my listeners or my followers, whatever it may be. And I don't know if I could live with myself if I did that, especially like I got to imagine Gary's just pissed off, He might be pissed off and he might log on to his bank account and realize that maybe it'll be okay. But from that standpoint, you got to think like his people, his friends might no longer have jobs because he agreed to be the buyout part. And it's just kind of crazy to think about. It's one of those questions that is a rhetorical question. You don't answer it, you just think about it and kind of wonder what would I do if I was in those shoes? But I hope this was an episode you guys like. If this is something that you guys enjoy, let me know. I'd be down to do more like long form, like I guess like journalistic like in investigation stuff like this. It was cool. It was kind of a pain in the butt to get all these sources and everything around, but I did. I think this video could be done. I could have done this video better in the future once I've done a couple of these, but I'm super excited for it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube. Make sure you're following on Instagram and Facebook, Scales and Tails Media, and then Scales and Tails Podcast for all your podcast listening needs on every single listening platform. But as always, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Tell me if this is a good idea, if we should do more of these, or what kind of topics you guys would like me to cover and do some research on. It took me a while to get all this stuff together, but I hope it was worth it for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll talk to you guys next time.